The Deputy Prime Minister, Angela Rayner, says it is completely unacceptable that thousands of people are still living in unsafe tower blocks 7 years after the Grenfell Tower fire. But she couldn't give a timetable for when flammable cladding will be removed. Tom Simons has the story.
We now know why 72 people lost their lives. But what happened here could have happened anywhere dangerous materials were used on high-rises. That fact triggered a rush to make buildings safe. So now there's a new question. When will it end?
Have you got a timeline?
I haven't got a definitive timeline yet, but...
The Deputy Prime Minister had to admit that this morning in a tour of the studios. But the pressure's now on to get rid of the scaffolding and get the job done. She says the money, £5 billion, is there, but...
Sometimes there's very complex structures to these buildings. Some are owned offshore. And I'm looking at that now on how we can continue to really hold these building owners to account to make sure that they do the work. There's no excuse.
There'll be a new plan in the autumn, she said. So what's the scale of the challenge? Well, more than 4,600 blocks above 11 metres, about 6 storeys, have so far been found to be unsafe. But only 1,350 have had work completed. That is about 29%. And this has been going on for years now. All the time, people are being told about new problems. This is Rachel Loftus in Leeds.
Alongside timber cladding on the outside of the building, we've also been told that this polycarbonate sheeting should never have been used on a residential building because it's likely to melt if the temperature got very high. And then the other problem is that this is the insulation that's used behind the outer wall of our building, and that's basically just polystyrene, so that also would melt and that should be quite toxic in the event of a fire.
It's all consuming.
In Manchester, for Tom Minikin, it's cladding. Work started but not finished.
It needs a firm deadline, and it needs consequences if people don't meet that deadline. You know, we should be compensated for the fact that this is just disrupting our lives.
The government may have to beef up the law to keep things moving. Tom believes his project is short of workers, and more professional fire experts are needed. That's a recommendation of the Grenfell inquiry. Ministers will be under pressure to say when they will deliver what yesterday's report calls for, as the consequences of the disaster continue to unfold. Tom Simons, BBC News.